purging creation, and by opening our hearts without breaking them, he answers our deepest yearning for meaning, which is joy, which is gratitude. How in heaven's name did one man win such strikingly intimate praise? I would suggest that the extreme intimacy of his nonfiction was not only delightful but highly contagious. B.D. saw his stories as diving boards, not news reports. He was interested less in ostensible fact and nominal accuracy than in the bends and layers and implications and insinuations and shimmers of memory. Within those shimmers, he said, were the seeds of stories to which other people can connect. A far less subtle feature of Brian's sentence-making, when he intuited the approaching roar of a white-water rapid in his imagination, he paddled steady on, refusing to portage round even the wildest water. The prose that resulted made timid readers feel as though they'd been thrown into a kayak and sent careening down a literary equivalent of Idaho's Payette River during spring runoff. But sentences that alarm the timid by awakening them to the wilder possibilities of language are heightened, not inept. B.D. played fast and loose with sentence length, rhythms, grammar, alliteration, and diction to disburden a heart and mind burgeoning with empathy, quickness, joy, wit, and love of the sinuous, riverine, lewd, amused pop and song of the American language. Calling a foul on such phrases is like disallowing certain three-point shots of B.D.'s Golden State Warriors hero Steph Curry because they were launched so ridiculously far from the basket. If the ball goes through the hoop, and if the sentence sings, both of them count, and I'm giving B.D. himself the last word on this matter, his 10 exclamation points included. From Doyle Brian, subject, aha, 10 exclamation points. Date, January 2nd, 2015 at 11:34:43 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. To David Duncan. Have you ever paid attention to Tolstoy's language? Enormous sentences, one clause piled on top of another? Do not think this is accidental, that it is a flaw. It is art, and it is achieved through hard work. Anton Chekhov. Brian Doyle lived the pleasure of bearing daily witness to quiet glories hidden in people, places, and creatures of little or no size, renown, or commercial value, and he brought inimitably playful or soaring or aching or heartfelt language to his tellings. When he finished a non-fiction gem, he stacked it in his study until he had built up a modest but serviceable book manuscript, which he mailed off without fuss, usually to very small religious publishers. Many of B.D.'s friends, myself included, felt that by scattering his best nonfiction through 13 modest novels over the years, he prevented his nonfiction from winning the national repute it deserved. This, coupled with his financial fears for his family after his tumor was diagnosed, is why, shortly after his first devastating brain surgery, I asked B.D.'s permission to consolidate in a single volume the kind of nonfiction that earned the extreme praise I've quoted from friends, fans, and editors of magazines, with all proceeds to go to his family. Brian did not say yes. He said, "Sweet Jesus, yes. Take whatever you want and tell whatever stories you want." With that blessing in mind, I set about assembling this manuscript with 2 magnificent co-editors, the editor-in-chief of Orion magazine, H. Emerson, Chip Blake, and the writer Kathleen Katie Yale. B.D.'s nonfiction appeared more than any other writers in Orion, and Chip and I had worked together on my Orion writing for years. Katie also worked for Orion, including on many of the B.D. pieces, and she knew his work more widely and deeply than Chip and I did, making her the perfect guide in our efforts. To commune with our friend on this project became a joy to all 3 of us. Speaking of my friendship with Brian, when we met 25 years ago, we each experienced, without overtly acknowledging it, a flame in each of us that we could always find burning in the other, a flame we both held to be inextinguishable. We recognized our shared willingness to speak of almost anything we perceived as spiritual truth. We also loved, during our afternoon work doldrums, to share stuff and nonsense of no redeeming social or spiritual value whatsoever. In response, for instance, to a random baseball note from me about how terrifying it must have been for batters to face the 6-foot 10-inch pitcher Randy Johnson, whose wingspan was so wide and fastball so fast, he seemed to reach out and set his pitches in the catcher's mitt.